like for the flu. It's usually when people have, they have the flu, and then people that had, anyway, there's more than just a vaccine. You can get herd immunity than more than just the vaccine. So, like my dad, he's 96, he had COVID last year in July, and then he still has the antibodies. He got tested. So I'm like when they talk about herd immunity, I don't know why you hear just about the vaccine. Why don't we hear about people who had COVID and who have antibodies? So that's just something to consider about the masks. So anyway, and I also thank you so much for all you do, all of you, for our children, and I really appreciate the time and effort you spend. And and I wanted to just, I think we all want our kids to succeed, and also to have truth in education as well. And so I just wanted to say a little prayer. Lord, we pray for these people, help all of us to do right for our kids, and help all of us to give us boldness and wisdom to have truth in education, and yes, Lord, and to discuss things when they need to be discussed as well. Yes, in Jesus' name. So that's all I wanted to say. So
Thank you, Teresa, for your thoughts. We're ready for item 3.06. Oh.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah. We welcome our audience now. We've had some technical difficulties. But we are back with our larger audience. Thank you. Thank you for getting all squared away, Chris. Item 3.06, do I have a motion to amend or adopt our agenda? Is there a second? All those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, so item 4.01, the consent agenda for efficiency. The school board utilizes a consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda are routine in nature or are among the many decisions that the board has already determined are in the domain of the administration. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right, our consent agenda is approved. And that brings us down to item 6.01, old business. This is a policy reading. This is the second reading. Are there any questions that you might still have about this item? This is about the transfer policy for elementary. Revised.
Okay, thank you.
But existing elementary children can finish out whatever school they're in.
So just to clarify your question, and I think you did a nice job of that, but the K through 4 will just go to, it's out of this. Rodney's decision. That's what will still continue to come to you all. But what we're no longer doing is that automatic, I want to go, I'm here, I want to go there.
Okay,
Does that help?
good,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other discussion on that? Do I have a motion to approve policy JCB? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right, that passes. So, item 7.01, our counseling program. Is that you?
Yep. Can you guys hear me? All right. So, so Chris, you can't project this, is that what you're saying? The PowerPoint? Yes, you're saying that? Okay. Okay, but you guys have the PowerPoint on.
You guys will pop it on your computers.
Yeah, it's the, I think it's the second document. Okay. That's, okay. That's kind of what I was going to use kind of for the presentation today was the green PowerPoint. So, in looking at the guidance and counseling program, this year I used the program review model that they use with the Missouri School Counselor Association. And so their program review is kind of a rubric. And so the information you're going to see in this is based on what the Missouri School Counselor Association sees as a good comprehensive guidance program. So they break it down to 4 components. So on that kind of first page, it's guidance, curriculum, individual planning, responsive services, program review model that they use with the Missouri School Counselor Association. And so they're, it's okay. And system support. So if you're on the screen, you can kind of see between that first chart and then that next page with the pie graphs, how that time of the day, counselors are supposed to be utilizing the time spent on the curriculum, how much time they're actually using doing individual planning, working with students and responding to their needs, and just typical system supports. And so I'm going to go through each of those areas and kind of what that involves in our counseling program, and then kind of what our strengths in those programs are, and then some of those, some of the ways we can grow in those areas. So the one thing I did want to kind of show you on the pie chart was that guidance curriculum at the younger age is 35 to 45% of the time they spend with kids, where when you get to the high school, a little less of that time is spent on the curriculum, and more time is spent in the areas like individual planning for college and responsive services. So, and when we talk about guidance curriculum as well, and not guidance curriculum, but guidance program, we're also kind of talking about social workers, because they are a very big support to that program, and the responsive services and the system supports, and then also some of those groups that you approve the MOUs for this time and last time, like Compass and Preferred and the Megan Meyer Foundation. And some of those different organizations provide licensed professional counselors and social workers, the people that are able to come in and help support our kids. So while this is kind of the counselor time allocation, those programs and those people also help support. We are very research rich, and I know you all know that. So the first section is the guidance curriculum, and so they break down the content into the 3 areas of personal social development, academic development, and career development. How's he doing that? Who's doing? Are you doing that? Good job. Man, you're like right on it. And you're, sorry. Okay, so our first goal with the curriculum piece of it, and I didn't realize how hard it is to actually see up there on that with the white. But what our curriculum goal is that we will not only like have a curriculum, which we wrote and you guys approved back in 2016, but that our counselors are able to get into the classrooms and implement that through all school assemblies, group activities, small group lessons, classroom lessons, and things like that. Some of that curriculum is also in the high schools and later grades is delivered through like the Missouri Connections, and when they're doing different programs within the Missouri Connections and developing their ICAPs and different areas in that way. Conflict mediation is a huge piece in the middle school, and so they really talk about conflict mediation within the buildings, and so that is another way that our counselors really work with our students as they get a little bit older. And then the career fairs is another area in which our curriculum is implemented. So as far as progress in those areas, we have the curriculum that we had approved by the board. Those guidance activities are delivered in every school, to the T. Our recommendation or some of the ways we could actually improve, though, are especially a year like this year when there are so many other things going on. I know it was a kind of a concern previously, but in our smaller schools, we have one counselor. In our bigger schools, we have one counselor in elementary. And so one of the things that can sometimes occur that's a little frustrating is that some of our bigger schools may not be able to get into those elementary classrooms to deliver instruction as often as some of our smaller schools. And so one of the ways that we are actually kind of addressing a little bit of that is that we are adding 2 social workers through the ESSER funds. Okay, and so those are going to be temporary positions at this point, but that will allow for some of the individual therapy and the group therapy and things like that to be delivered by our social workers, which will then allow our counselors to be able to spend a little bit more time in the classroom. Our elementary counselors will tell us sometime, they have a class planned, and then all of a sudden maybe children's division might show up because of a hotline call, and then they end up sitting with a kid, and then that class is missed, or things like that. So there are just so many facets to their position that sometimes the curriculum piece is just, it's hard to make sure that each elementary school is getting the same amount of time with the guidance curriculum. So that is one area, is trying to figure out how we can be a little more equitable in the amount of time that those classrooms get instruction. The next one, elementary guidance program. These are the areas. Got it? These are just the areas in which the curriculum pretty much attacks. So really talking about the individual within the entire community, respecting each other, personal safety skills, educational achievement. If you look at, we're going to go into the survey in a few minutes, but it's all about, do I have study skills? Do I know how to, do I know how to do well in school? What are the things that are going to help me succeed? Transitioning between educational levels. Exploring future career options, and again, that's going to look a little bit different than it's going to look in high school, but they start talking about it in elementary school. And then identifying personal strengths and weaknesses. As we go through this, you'll notice that a lot of these topics are almost the exact same as you go through middle school and then you go through high school. It's just how they're attacked are a little bit different. So we had, through the Missouri School Counselors Association, they actually have a list of survey questions that they suggest that we ask our students. So these needs assessments were sent out, one to elementary and intermediate, one to middle school and high school, one to high school. And so the questions that are on these surveys are the ones that the Missouri School Counselors Association want us to look at, because those are the areas in which they fall within those four components. So I know I'm not going to go. Chris, can you go to the next page? So some of the things that we learned through these needs assessment were that on the first page, like one of the things that I think is very wonderful is that 76% of our students in the elementary and intermediate, so up through sixth grade, strongly agree. And if we look at how they're rating, it's a 1 through 5. And so 1, they strongly disagree, and 5, they strongly agree. So if you look at the 4s and 5s, those are pretty much agree and higher. But 76% of students strongly agreed that they recognize and respect people that are different than them in first kindergarten through sixth grade. I thought that was pretty cool. And again, this year was the year that we assessed or surveyed our students. And then in future years, then we'll survey our parents, we'll survey our teachers. We kind of do it on a cycle every third year. On the next page, some of the things I saw were that 49% of our students strongly agree that they like themselves. So 50% of our students strongly like themselves, which is great. But then in 21% like agree. But again, I'm not sure that that's enough for us. But and then only 26% of students think of options for solving a problem before they choose the best solution. So those are just some areas that maybe we could see a little improvement in and maybe attack. So if we can kind of go down to the successes, to the last one, Chris, is page 10. Go up one more. I feel like it's that, but yeah, there we go. So some of the things I noticed on these surveys for elementary and intermediate was that 70, we talked about that, but 90% of the students rated themselves a 4 or 5 when they asked if they understand and follow rules. So kids really feel like they follow rules all the way up through sixth grade, and they really try to do their best. Some needs or some improvements we could look at were 49% of the students, like I said, strongly agree that they like themselves. Only 26% of students really try to problem solve and think of the best solution. And only 66% of students set goals for themselves. And so some of the things that we've learned through good education and good educational practices is having students set goals for themselves to try to achieve. So that is definitely something that we could work on. Middle school guidance, if we scroll down to the next one, Chris. Again, a lot of these are the same exact types of activities and areas in which the curriculum is targeting. When we get down to the middle school needs assessment, I put this on here on the pie graph. Only 38% of these answers were from 8th graders and 61% were from 7th graders. But we had 286 responses. So that was probably a little less than half of the students. And as we go through the middle school needs assessment, I will just say that successes in some of our needs, 86% of them rate themselves as knowing and using the skills they need to be successful in school. And 83% of them rated themselves a 4 or 5 when they were asked if they were able to maintain quality relationships with others. So I think that most of our middle schoolers are feeling that they're being successful in school and that they have relationships with others. Only 27% of them agree that they participate in activities that help them become a contributing member of the community. Although if that's a 5, but 62% rate them a 4 or 5. So possibly getting them involved in some more community activities or extracurricular activities would be helpful. And that could be a little bit of a symptom of what happened this school year too, because we didn't have a lot of after-school activities and a lot of extracurricular things going on after school because of COVID. So this could be because of that. I don't know. And then 54% of them say they interact with others in a way that respects differences, which is a lot lower, if you notice, from elementary to middle school. High school guidance, again, a lot of the same topics that they're going to be discussing. When we get to this high school needs assessment, we ended up with 394 total responses. 78% of those were from St. Charles High and only 21% from St. Charles West. Although they all sent them out, so we had a much better response. I don't know if the counselors sent these out. I don't know if they if maybe one building they actually did it at a designated time where the kids were asked to answer the survey, where the others may have just kind of sent it out and hoped the kids would answer the survey. But again, there's kind of the percentage of grades that responded was pretty equitable there. So some of the successes and some of the needs that I saw in the high school needs assessment, 77% of our students say they're able to maintain quality relationships, which, sorry, Chris, I'm not being at the very bottom of that, of the survey. 80% of them rank themselves as a 4 or 5 for taking personal responsibility for problem solving and conflict resolution. And 86% of students say they interact with others in a way that respects individual and group differences. So it looks like we may have had a little bit of a growing pains when you get to middle school, which is probably pretty typical. And then needs, 33% of our students, we'll talk about the ICAP here in a minute. It's a individual career, trying to think of what it stands for now. But it's their individual career and academic plan. So they're all creating an individual career and academic plan at 8th grade, and then it follows them into high school, and that helps direct them with their the courses they're taking in order to kind of get into post-secondary. Only a third of the students are actually saying that they're monitoring and revising those ICAP for lifelong learning. 61% of our students are able to prioritize and balance personal, family, school, work, and community roles. And only 52% of students participate in activities again. So again, that could be something related to this year, but it's also something to maybe take notice of. So that was the curricular part, which also did kind of involve some of our other areas with our individual planning. But the second big component of the counseling program is individual planning with students and helping them set goals and plan for careers in post-secondary transition. And so the goal there was that all students will participate. And Chris, can you move down to the number 2? Keep going. One more page. Okay. So we want them all to be developing, reviewing, and revising those personal plans so that whenever they're out of high school, they're ready for a career or ready to move on to the next part of their lives. So maybe college or career. So elementary students in the elementary level, they get a lot of that individual planning through the curriculum. And so through lessons, through group activities about personal work habits and personal and ethical habits and skills. So middle schoolers then start utilizing Missouri Connections. So they start taking interest profiles. They start looking at those career pathways, and they start talking about like personal interests. And so when they go to high school, they're looking at specific classes that they might want to take in order to help them explore that. So all middle and high school students develop their ICAP in order to help with that. So while the recommendation for this is that while all students actually develop those ICAPs, it might be one of those things, it sounds like, that maybe they're not following up with that and revising it and utilizing it in order to help direct their post-secondary transition. So the third part of our curriculum. Third part of our counseling program is responsive services. And especially this year, I feel like a large part of our counselors and our social workers' time is spent on these responsive services. So those are when they address those immediate needs and concerns. So we had a lot of families that, lost jobs. We have a lot of students that have been through trauma, a lot of students who weren't able to come to school, a lot of things going on this year. And they every year, honestly. So our social workers, our counselors, all of those groups that we partner with, as well as like our Neighbor Helping Neighbor, We Love St. Charles, Care to Learn, all of those are responsive services that we have in our district and that we utilize to help intervene with our students. So some of the topics that they actually address are divorce, suicide. When we lose a student, we just lost a student, a lot of times, every time we have ways where we come together and our counselors and our social workers really help come up with a plan of action for this is what we do when our teachers come in, this is what we're doing when our students come in. When there's a crisis that happens in our district, they are like the first ones to come in the night before everybody comes back, and they help create a plan with our administrators to help support our kiddos and our staff. So they work with truancy, drug abuse, all of these things that you see on this. So the goal here was that we will make
Can I clarify one thing?
Yeah.
What you said was just fine, but I just want to clarify. We did have a loss of a student.
Yes.
Recently, it was not from suicide, though. I want to make sure people knew that. It was a tragic loss. Health.
Because I said it in the same sentence, didn't I?
You didn't say long. I want to clarify for people, we did have a tragic loss of a student this week, but it was not.
Right. But it still affects all of our kids. Yeah. So the school district will make consultation and counseling service available to all students experiencing problems that might be interfering with their personal, social, academic, or career development. That was our goal here. And I really feel like in our district, this is also a strength. I feel like some of the things, I know Marie did ask me, what are some of the best things we did this year? And I think this year, this really was a strength for all of our counselors, all of our social workers. Honestly, everybody in our district worked so hard to make sure we supported our kids. Our St. Charles High counselors actually created a website within their counseling program where it was, what did they call it? Like a virtual counseling guidance room where you could go in and they would have a calm room in there where you could do like mediation, they'd have exercises, different calming strategies and music and things. They had just if you needed to meet with a counselor, you could sign up there online. It's really cool. If you ever want to go on to their website, you can see the room. It looks like a little room. You click on like the desk, and it might be one of the counselor sign-in sheets, and then the next thing might be resources for social emotional needs. It was just a really unique way of helping support the kids. So even if they weren't in school, they were virtual, they would still have access to our counselors within the school building. So our counselors worked really hard on identifying those students that were falling behind because of lack of being in school the previous year, maybe being out this year because they're quarantined or they're virtual or they just needed assistance, and they really helped drive the students that ended up coming and being at summer school this summer. So they really helped identify those kids that were behind in credits and that needed that extra support for that learning loss that took place because of COVID. They also were jumping into classrooms and subbing. They were going to houses and making sure that these kids that were virtual were logging in. I mean, so it was kind of a hands-on deck, all hands on deck. And I think at every level, between elementary, middle, and high, it might have looked a little bit different, but they were all kind of doing the same thing. They were making sure every kid had food, every kid was getting educated, and every kid had the resources they need. So we have some amazing counselors in our district, and social workers, and just teachers. So anyways, I think I pretty much addressed this, but Compass and Preferred, Lutheran Family Services, they all help jump in as well. And when we do have a tragedy, they also contact us and say, hey, we hear you had a loss or you had something going on. Is there any support we can give as well? And they will send people over to help assist and be extra hands. So the only recommendation I would really have with that goal would be being systematic in our processes. And we are getting better. Systematic processes for the referral and delivery of services in order to expedite the responses. So I think within our program in our district, we are able to get all hands on deck and know who to go to get certain, if you know, how to get a social worker to help a student, how to get a behavioral coach to help a student. But sometimes when it comes to some of those outside agencies, it's one more step. So if a kid needs to get, is on Medicaid, they can get counseling directly in our buildings from Compass. And so sometimes it's that extra layer in getting somebody to come and help support our students in knowing who that counselor is, how many students they're seeing on their caseload, and then they have sometimes a lot of turnover. So I think just that systematic process, and we're working on it. We meet with Compass at least 2 or 3 times a year, and we talk about things that are going well and things that aren't going well, and try to make improvements there. Okay, mine just got smaller. Okay, and then so the goal number 2 in that responsive services would be that we would partner with community agencies in order to support our students. And again, I think we are very, very, very resource rich, as we said before. One recommendation we've had is making sure that those services are also able to be easily accessed by students that may be in families that don't speak English. So that's kind of an area that we've noticed through CSIP and through some of our committees that we need to be able to have a list of resources available in multiple languages. And then the last part, system support, that's just the day-to-day activities pretty much that our counselors perform. So it's, doing lunch duty or doing car duty, collaborating, doing newsletters, like I said, doing social media and having those, resources online. All of our counselors are very, very involved with our buildings, not just doing their job, but making sure that they're connecting with teachers, connecting with families, sharing information, talking to community agencies, and participating in all those school-related types of activities. So that goal for that area was that the guidance program will be supported by appropriate staffing, PD, performance evaluations, mentoring new counselors, collaborative relationships. So all of those things that kind of are the day-to-day pieces that make sure we have enough counselors and that they're getting the support they need. One concern this year from our counselors was how busy they were. And so when we kind of delved into looking at, okay, well, let's look at your caseloads, let's look at how many kids you serve. And when we started looking, I mean, every single one of our buildings is the lowest in St. Charles County. So we have other high schools in St. Charles County that have like 500 or 600 kids per counselor, and we have like 300. So we are doing well, except that we also have a lot of kids with a lot of needs right now. Not just us, I mean, the whole county does, but that's still 300 kids that they're trying to help support. So we are meeting all of those standards as far as desirable standards of how many kids would be on each counselor's caseload. We do give them lots of professional development. They are part of the Missouri evaluation program through Talent Ed. They get the mentors that the teachers get. They attend district-wide guidance meetings that we have multiple times a year. So the only thing I could really recommend in this area was our counselors also provide their case managers for our students on 504 plans. And a 504 plan, if you're not familiar, is not necessarily a student that meets eligibility for special ed, but some students still are, they have a disability. So it could be, they have diabetes and it affects them educationally. It could be ADHD that doesn't quite, hinder them so much that it's a special education diagnosis. But they write a 504 plan for accommodations and things like that. We have a lot of new counselors, so some of them are really struggling with trying to juggle doing the 504s and knowing what needs to be in them, how kids qualify for those. So we had talked about really hitting that heavy this year. So that is the one area that we're going to target this year with that group. And they probably 75-80% of them have already signed up for a training with Ed Plus this fall, and we're going to have a follow-up with Linda, who said she would come in and support us as well, and kind of looking at our paperwork to see if we can kind of make it a little bit easier and more condensed for them. But that's kind of the one area there that was help. We need a little help with. So according to the Missouri Counselors Association, a comprehensive guidance program would support all students, enhance academic success, provide student, individual, and career planning, promoting a positive and safe learning environment, and having program accountability. So those are the things that all four of those areas really help support. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I did talk about how we were adding two social workers. And so one of the areas that we were kind of talking about that we really had some struggles and needs was that while we are resource rich, we still need more help with hitting that the area of responsive services. And so our school social workers are licensed clinical social workers can do counseling and therapy. And so we want to add two temporarily at least, in that so that both of our high schools can have a full-time social worker in them, and our middle school and our intermediate school can have a full-time social worker to be able to provide those services, which then means if our two newer ones would end up being in the elementary setting, split three ways, which maybe then can help our guidance counselors spend more time hitting those curricular areas and some of those other services instead of having to always jump out and take care of, doing individual sessions and individual counseling with students. So that's kind of one area there that we are attacking. And other than that, I think, one more thing I didn't really address either. One of the best things I think that our Jefferson has worked on this year is that Preferred Family has gotten a grant for a program called Preventure. And I think we had an MOU on it earlier, so you might have seen something about it earlier in the year. But it basically talks about making good choices, drugs, alcohol, things like that, and it's basically you're targeting your at-risk population, and then it is a structured, national, like it's nationally recognized, but they attack like certain groups of students, and they actually give them certain curriculum and work with them in groups for a certain amount of time. And so they've started that at Jefferson this school year. So they've done it at a time during the school day, but at a time where they weren't, I think they're doing it on early release day. So they have certain kiddos that they feel really need that extra support, and we have had, drug situations happening younger and younger. So this is something that got started this year within Jefferson, and we are just, it's brand new, but we're hoping it'll make a big impact on those students. So that's something else that we had going on at our intermediate school this year. So it was pretty cool. But any questions? Yeah. kind of clerical work. Because I know in our high schools, they have a counselor secretary, a registrar that does a lot of their paperwork. So I know at the high school level, they have that. I don't know of our elementary counselors or that they really have a lot of clerical work. The 504 plans are not really something that we can have a secretary do, because that's very similar to kind of like an IEP where you have, that needs to be done by a professional staff member. But from Jefferson all the way up to the high school, they do have counselors, guidance secretaries. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, they might, other than clerical stuff, they might be talking about the 504s. And the 504s do require a lot of time. It's a piece of paper, not piece of paper, but it's a document that they need to do once a year. But again, I think that's one of the reasons that we're having this training is we want them to feel comfortable where it's not taking a lot of time. And some of the paperwork with those 504s, a lot of it is medical as well. So if a student has diabetes, for instance, some of it is like a medical action plan type of things that need to happen that a nurse would write up. But other things might be accommodations in the classroom, like being able to leave and get a snack, or having water at their desk, or some things that might need to happen in the classroom, not with the nurse down at the clinic. So when we were talking about having training for 504s, we talked about, like utilizing your nurses, not to write them, but to take what they have and implement it within their 504, so that they're not trying to recreate and spend too much time doing these documents. And so that's the only like clerical work that I would say that they really have, other than just the same emails and things like that everybody else has. Oh, you want to answer that?
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
let you
answer. And now I can chime in.
I know. She's like,
Go ahead. It's your report.
yeah. Well, when they talk about careers in elementary school, they're talking more about responsibilities. They're talking more about probably more of the, what kinds of skills do students need to have and start building on up to and be able to later on have jobs, like getting along with others. They're not really exploring careers. They're working on the skills that would lead to good job skills. Does that make sense? Did you want to elaborate on that?
Well, and I guess this is even talking about like Project Lead the Way in a minute. When we talk about curriculum, we have an addendum, we have a new class that we're going to talk about. But like with Project Lead the Way, you want to create pipelines. You want to create opportunities for students to have exposure to different types of career paths and jobs that they may not have had exposure to in any other way. And starting those conversations early. To have females see themselves in math and engineering positions, where that might not be the norm for many females, or different things like that. So having those conversations early, or exposure to those, getting them ready, so that as they get to the upper grades, they are more apt to take exploratory classes to then lead them into potential high school courses of study and then potential careers.
Yeah, and looking at their strengths, and if they're really good at math, what types of jobs could you have if you're good at math, and things like that. Yeah.
But we get sneak children by even our early childhood in that wonderful little town. If they are exposed or have a chance through play or through actual lessons, to see themselves in other kinds of roles. When it is time to do that ICAP form, you know, in my day, kids only put down, I think I want to be a nurse. I think I want to be an airline attendant.
And kids are thinking about that at that age. And early childhood is a very good example because there's always a dress-up center in an early childhood classroom.
Growing up, I didn't even look at, do I want to be a rocket scientist? I didn't have a rocket when I was young.
But I think too, like in elementary, we're kind of sneaky about it too, because we have Lego clubs that then turn into robotics clubs and then feed into classes that we have at the middle and high school level. Like, so it's about learning through play and exposure and getting them excited.
I was going to say too, on that project leader, which we'll talk about later, but those, learning how to do networking and take on leadership projects and roles and when they choose, and get sidetracked from that.
Yeah. So for instance, in the curriculum, this is just kind of what it says. So for the area where it talks about career decision-making, it talks about identifying and comparing roles and responsibilities of workers in the community. So what do the policemen do? Things like that. So they're not really talking about like, hey, what do you want to do right now? They're kind of just talking about the community helpers and educational career requirements, so identifying skills needed by family members, school workers, and community workers. So, you know, it's kind of the more general. Yes.
Years ago, we had community helpers, about what a
I'm
fireman does.
I'm going to go one step beyond just social skills too. Even like in our training yesterday, there was one really poignant moment where the presenter put up a picture of this older African-American woman. And I, for the life of me right now, I can't remember her name, and I apologize for that. But she is the only neurosurgeon, African-American woman neurosurgeon, I guess in the country. And her comment, basically, or the quote that was related to her was that there was basically one person in her life who changed her trajectory because she had never saw herself being able to be in that role, because she had never seen other people who looked like her in those roles. She was not exposed to it. So I firmly believe that it's our job, one of our jobs, is to expose children from the time they come to us all the way through to different types of jobs and work within the community where they see themselves and people who look like them in those roles, so that they know that that is a possibility for them as they grow up. I don't know if anybody else was there wanted to just add to that.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, I would say having kids currently in the district, they, in elementary school, the STEM days have been extremely beneficial, because it's kind of like a career fair, per se, for the elementary kids to see men and women in different STEM fields. As, you know, they come home with questions like, oh, I didn't know I could be this when I wanted, when I grow up. So I think those opportunities open their eyes to possibilities.
Well, and those days too, it made me think of like they had a female pilot as one of the speakers. They had different people from record labels and, you know, the music industry and how technology plays into that, you know. And then your typical lines of doctors and veterinarians and the people that you sometimes think about when you think about STEM.
But even in our own district, when we went over and went to Lewis and Clark with the governor a month or two ago, and we saw were there 2 female electricians? You know, and then like seeing some females
auto
body, like it's
auto
just,
service.
it's pretty cool, because, you know, and that's a little older, that's not elementary, but still just, you know, they didn't just wake up one day in high school and decide that that was a path they might want to take.
There's lots of opportunities.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on the presentation? Do I have a motion to approve counseling review? Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, we're ready for item 7.02. These are curriculum guide adoptions. We have quite a few of them in general.
We do. We had several groups that were working on curriculum this year. We had our K through 12 library media specialists who worked on their curriculum. And then we had some secondary curriculum too. We had grades 7 through 12 family and consumer sciences, 7 through 12 English language arts, and our a new high school project Lead the Way engineering design development class that we're going to bring forward as well. So I would like to invite up Tina Lauer and Jessica Evans to the microphone, and they are going to give us a brief synopsis of the work that was done, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Hello. The first thing I'm going to present is the K-12 library media. I gotta get my glasses on so I can read what I wrote here. The Library Media Center's curriculum was created throughout the 2020-21 school year, and it's aligned to the American Association of School Librarians standards. In addition to the Missouri Learning Standards for English Language Arts and Social Studies were applicable. In the K-4 curriculum, a focus on social studies research and investigation is being implemented in the library media centers, which not only allows the students to use their library skills while researching nonfiction topics, but will also allow more time in the regular classroom for math and English language arts instruction. Critical thinking, digital literacy, digital citizenship, and an appreciation of literature are stressed in all grade levels K through 12. Any questions about the K-12 library media curriculum? Take these off so I can see you again. Okay. And the other one I'm presenting tonight is the PLTW Engineering Design and Development. This is the capstone course in the Project Lead the Way Engineering Pathway, and is available for 11th and 12th graders. And it's an addendum to the industrial technology curriculum that was presented and approved in the 2018-19 school year. This curriculum was written throughout this past school year based on the training received from PLTW the summer before, and the knowledge and skills students acquire throughout the PLTW engineering pathway come together in the engineering design and development course as the students identify an issue and then research, design, and test the solution, ultimately presenting their solution to a panel of engineers. While this presentation of designs didn't happen this past school year due to the pandemic, the goal of the capstone class is for students to apply their professional skills they have developed in the pathway, the prerequisite courses, and in the engineering design and development course, so they are ready to take on any post-secondary program or career. Taking a combination of any two of the engineering PLTW courses and receiving an A or B and a qualifying EOC score can qualify a student for college credit at Missouri S&T in addition to other colleges and universities. Any questions about the PLTW Engineering Design and Development course? Thank you very much.
I think that'll be okay. Can you hear me? Okay. I am going to present the Family and Consumer Sciences for 7 to 12, as well as 7 to 12 English Language Arts. Our Family and Consumer Sciences really knew exactly what they wanted to do when they got started. And what they've done is they've brought the Family and Consumer Sciences curriculum really up to speed for 2021 and beyond. So we'll have more interaction, not only within the classroom itself, but also students will be able to interact with technology too. And our teachers have gone to professional development, which is second to none. And you may have seen it in your board newsletter. They were able to work alongside some pretty premier chefs for learning new techniques to teach students, so that our students, if they're interested in culinary skills, they would be able to already experience some of these very fine art type experiences to take into their next level of career. With the child development program, we have also included one of the courses will equate to a CTE, similar to what they provide for Lewis and Clark. So the students will also be able to get that credit too. So we're trying to make it more robust for our students that are very interested in family and consumer sciences, and to be able to explore that at a greater and deeper level. And our teachers truly, if you've had the opportunity to visit them, they are incredibly passionate about teaching these courses, and they really try to give these students as great and a robust experience as possible. Are there any questions on family and consumer sciences for 7 to 12? Okay. Yes, they are. Oh.
Can adults come in? That's one of the times when the board goes to visit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they'd be very happy. Yeah. They make these swans out of sugar. And it's fascinating. It's beautiful. So, ready for ELA? Okay. 7 to 12 ELA rewrote this year, and we've done this actually for the past few years and to research and make sure that we're doing everything the very best way we can for our students who are working alongside the K through 6 as they rewrote their program too, so that we understood exactly where our students were coming from, so that we could help those students transition from 6th grade into 7th grade and beyond with as much ease as possible. We thank you guys so much for approving the resources. We did partner with HMH for that, and they're providing a very robust program for our students when it comes to not only the text, but also providing our teachers with professional development that is going to help our students to be more of the facilitator in the classroom when it comes to exploring literature, exploring their thoughts and ideas about the literature, and having the teacher play more of a role of mentor and guide and coach. When it comes to the courses, we did ensure that everything is built upon the Missouri Learning Standards, so they spent a very, very long amount of time looking through the essential standards that our students are going to need to truly know in order to be successful, not only on the end of course exams, but also on their end of school exams, their ACT, SAT, etc., and then if whatever they choose to go on into in their adult life, whether that is college, that's a trade school, military, or straight to the workforce. So trying to cultivate all of those skills. The other part of that, and it was very critical for us, is to make sure that all of our students felt represented in the mediums that we use to teach these standards. Because within the standards, there isn't necessarily a piece of literature that is stated to be used. These are skills and tasks that the students are going to work on. But we wanted to make sure that all of our students felt represented and had the ability to choose novels and pieces of literature when they do work with the standards. So we have Now, thanks to your approval as well, over 150 novels that the students can choose from. 57% of those novels do come from diverse minority either authors or include those characters as well, so that our students do have the opportunity to see themselves in the literature, to see authors that look like them as well, and to be able to explore the standards in the way that they feel most comfortable, and to also be able to have others that do not look like them to explore those standards in a different way, from somebody that may not look like them. So that's what we have done. We spent a very, very long time researching best practices, looking at what other districts were doing, making sure that we were preparing our students for, again, post-secondary, whatever that would be for them, and so that they are exposed not only to the classics, but to what is going on in our society as a whole. Are there any questions on 7 through 12 ELA? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I have a general question about the format of the curriculum guides, and that covers every curriculum guide I've looked at in the past week. What can we do to make them more clear, more user-friendly, especially now when the focus is on what our kids are learning in school, public schools, and the lies that are being circulated. So if we put these curriculum guides on the website, it's like counting the drops in a fire hose. It's just too much information. And what can we do to make them more user-friendly? Now, I'm not saying throw anything away, but I'm seeing elements, templates of understanding by design, standards-based grading, another template, and it seems like they're all mashed together. Can we simplify what goes on the website? Yeah, because right, exactly. And I have a master's degree in education, so I am not afraid of the jargon. I know what an essential question is. But what's going to be on the test? Yeah. Mm-hmm. What? Yeah. Could. What? Okay. It's too much information in the curriculum guides. Yeah. Right.
Not too much information
For teachers
in the profession.
Right.
It's like, if I wouldn't understand the mechanics manual either if I went into a garage. So but for our parents to look at something, a simple brief outline of what's being covered.
What's
But not how they're covering it.
Yeah, exactly.
We could create a little bit within our priority standards. We need to identify those for our courses. And we could certainly go through and interact like each unit that they will go through, so there's a quick.
Right, yeah.
Like this is kind of what we're covering.
And like
If
5
they want more detail, they can go to the.
to, yeah.
I think we could probably create something like that.
But we're talking about keeping them both in there. That way they can cross-reference if they want to.
Yeah, don't throw anything away,
Yeah.
but, the curriculum guide, those who don't want, learner objectives.
The board really needs to approve our standards and then the framework, the scope and sequence of what we're teaching. And then the rest of it, the meat of it, is really what as teachers and educators we work ourselves through. So if that's something that you would prefer as we move forward, we could just bring forward the scope and sequence and the standards that we're working on within the curriculum revision. But I would want you guys to let us know, like, do you want us to reuse that or?
Yeah, as a parent, I mean, I think I need to know all the nuts and bolts. I mean, if I'm a parent looking on the website, I'm probably not needing to know all. I mean, but I would err on the side of knowing more is way better than knowing less. Because you are going to have some parents who want to come from an education background that are going to want to know. But I think just making it reader friendly is probably what Ellen's saying. And I could see, like a quick snapshot of this is what the curriculum is.
So I think, Dan, you're saying on our website, things that are accessible to our public, curriculum guides, as we're seeing them, are still there, but we'd also have the briefer object outline of learner. And then if a parent wanted to look at something else, they could click over.
Because I also think like the world that we live in right now, transparency in our educational system is critical.
Yeah.
Right.
I never want somebody to say, we're not giving them all the information.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like having a quick parent overview, I think we can do that for
And that's why I said, I agree with all that, it's just I want to make sure they're both in there. I don't want to say, see highlights, go, oh, they're only highlighted here, but, and then here's something else. It's all in there too, they cross-reference it. Because we clearly show, tell, and we have nothing to hide, we'll show you it all. So, but yeah.
Which makes these meetings longer, but you show them everything.
But what we can do, and so we'll do this moving forward, we'll see what we can do. I don't think we can have a different list of services.
Oh, no.
But we can work on getting the parents snapshot,
Yeah.
and then for next time around, when we bring more curriculum to you, we will give you what we give you, but then we'll also give you basically the snapshot, or we'll give you the priority standards, the scope and sequence, you can see like from kindergarten to 12th grade, kind of like this is the scope of the skills we're teaching. And then, like the unit topics, something like that, where it gives you a quick understanding, and then you can dig into the depth of it. Is that?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Did you have another question? And were there any other questions about the curriculum guide adoptions? Do I have a motion to approve those?
I move that we approve the curriculum guides as presented.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, so we have item 8.01 has quite a few policies, first readings, and you've kind of looked them over, and is there any discussion on any of them?
Thank you, ladies. Great job. As you're kind of looking at it again, I'll just highlight the one that she'll see, the grid that kind of gives you the summary. A lot of it's obviously from MSBA, a lot of our obviously new legislation or changes in legislation. But the one that we point out from us is we just got this one. On this one, but we had just the old starting times in there, so we've changed those. There's a thought that we don't really need to have those times in there, but we also say in there that we could obviously change the time at any point in the proper process, so.
Basically took our current virtual policy, which was everything mocap and our district virtual all went together, and they broke them up into separate policies. So there's nothing in those policies that's really new to us, it's just clarified into mocap and the district virtual. So mocap went into law 3 years ago, maybe. And so it started off very, very few students, student here, student there, meeting. It last school year, no, 2 years, pre-pandemic, we probably had between 10, around 10 students in the district. Last year with the pandemic, we had more, but the bulk of our students were district virtual. So last year, I'm going to say we probably had 15 to 20 students that were mocap during the course of the year. We have used a lot this summer because they offered free, or I should say, launch, which is one of the mocap vendors, and they're our partner vendor. Launch offered free virtual summer school classes and free summer school credit recovery for virtual classes. And so we did share that with our students, and many of them took us on. I think we had over 100 students that showed up. So summer school classes through launch this summer. So it's just we're kind of back to normal, like normal trajectory for next year. I would think we're probably between 10 and 15 students across the board that have launch courses. Why would students take mocap during the pandemic versus other virtual? Some of it was because that was the program that they were already using before the pandemic. So that could have been a reason. It could have been that they did not want to do like an all access kind of thing where they needed to be present for a live class, where some of the mocap vendors kind of force the students on the student's time, or if they wanted it pre-recorded. If they didn't want to do the coursework into a online, they can do the coursework into a online. So and that's a different model than what we are. With the state law, we cannot deny students. We could offer virtual AP chemistry, and mocap vendors could offer virtual AP chemistry. And we cannot deny students from saying, going to one of the virtual vendors, even though we have the same class. Like that's the law. We can't say that they can't go over the law for it. The only way that we are able to deny a student for that virtual offering through mocap is if we have determined that is no longer bringing that student the educational best interest. And that can be done in a variety of ways, specifically if they give their virtual classes with us or with the mocap and then they fail them, that kind of tells us that that's probably not in their educational best interest to continue down the path. Or the student did it, so the student ended up accommodations and modifications that they need would not be appropriate in those classes. There are reasons why we say it's not educationally appropriate, but we can't deny it, it's just simply on the basis that we also offer that course.
Well, wouldn't it be that if you look at that we offer both courses, but we feel the student is better served by taking the course that's being taught in our district, so that they take other classes down the road, if there's some coordination or synchronization of coursework, wouldn't that say that, I mean, it's. Who? Yeah. We live in a political time.
If
And does a DESI evaluate MOCAP, the courses? Why no, but do they actually evaluate and have documentation after each course? Is that a no? Yeah, because we're not, because we don't really know. I'm asking if DESI does. And will they show you the evaluation? Wow, this is going down a slippery slope. That's such a short little timeline. I just saw that in this. Yeah. And I think most of us would. We pay for it.
And each of them has their own rate with the state, and then the districts are encouraged to try to negotiate on those rates. Because depending upon how we see in any regulation that we have to pay on $4,500 to $6,800.
Ridiculous.
What we have found is that our students, during the pandemic, right, the pandemic was so hard. They didn't do so well. I know we struggled as well with the mental health success of our students, maybe it was based on the relationships that we had ourselves. They still felt connected to their schools, friends, and different.
We knew of at least one district that started with strictly MOCAP last first semester, and by the second semester, they were doing in-house things virtually versus MOCAP just wasn't working out for the students.
This is why there's too much paperwork. Yeah. Just let us teach. Well, this is a first reading, so there's no motion on this one. Item 8.02, now we have some other policies that we want to talk about. I don't know, I'm going to kind of turn that over to Jason.
So BCC, I'm sorry. So BCC1 and BCA1 are related, and I'll start with BCA1. Pretty much just talks about when the actual, this is for you all, your government body, when the actual treasurer and secretary start their positions. Zara, I'm going to ask you Ellen, I'm going to ask you to kind of join in because this is the conversation we've had. Just to clarify, Kelly, you can jump in as well, to clarify when, and it's not the Secretary of Kelly, but our Secretary of Board here, which is Ellen now. There's just been a question, we just want clarification. The reason why we're doing discussion is we're not putting it in for an actual change yet, but if we think we need to through this discussion, then we'll put it through the regular process of the 2 readings. But pretty much as it reads, the board shall organize the election of president, vice president, the board shall, on or before July 15th of each year, elect the secretary and treasurer who shall assume their respective duties on July 15th. And I think that is the question, because right now our practice has been that as soon as we have re-elected and reorganized, those people have started those positions. And I don't want to speak for you, but we just want to make sure that our practice meets our policy.
Yeah, I just wanted that clarification or change the policy to match the practice, you know. And it's not a big deal, but we should be following board policy.
So our thoughts on that?
Right.
But the other sentence about the secretary may, and treasurer may or may not necessarily be members of the board.
So that gets confusing. There's also, that's BCC1, so.
I thought it was.
No, you're in the right one. I'm saying, the one that's related to it talks about how, and the reason why we added that one is because it just talks about July 15th as well. And it talks about in there too about the secretary and the treasurer may not be board members. So it's a little confusing, so.
Well, I'm thinking, as long as we're on the BCA about taking the language so that I'd like to remove that part. Don't you think the board treasurer and the board secretary should be members of the board? Absolutely. Yeah.
So again, this is just discussion, but what we can do is we can strike that out. We can add the new language that says that we would start those positions after voting, and then we'll bring that back for first reading next month.
So that's BC.
And that's BCA1. And BCC1, I don't necessarily, we can strike out, that just talks about July 15th too, but there's also in there about may or not be board members, so we can cross that one. We can strike that out too. You guys okay with that? So that can all be crossed out.
I'm not in for the board, the secretary.
Now, just.
Yeah, the designee, yeah. Yeah, right.
There's two secretaries, we want to clarify those.
Yes, I'm a figurehead and she does all the work. You know, basically,
And we like that.
yeah, I sign papers, yeah.
You don't want to be in charge of Charles' job, do you?
Yeah.
Indirectly, you oversee it. I have to complain. For the years that I was treasurer, I did not see one dime.
So can we have that language that's not a compensated position?
So I just want to just make this clear too. When we cross things out, and it's fine, but MSBA, sometimes we'll come back and question some of that and have a conversation with us about it. Just so you know, but so, again, to be clear, BCC1 and BCA1, any language that talks about an alternative or compensation will be taken out or lined out, and then the BCA1 piece about when do we start those two positions will be right after we reorganize.
Is there any way to clarify in this the language, our board secretary and secretary to the board?
I know that's what you were asking.
Yeah, because you need to be compensated.
We can probably work on that wording a little bit, don't you think?
The designee.
The designee.
Yeah.
Custodian of records.
Yeah, all those types.
Ellen said the phrase designee.
Yeah, I designate you to do all the work.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Except it doesn't get.
So everybody's good with those two policies, and we'll bring those again, they have to come back, this is not an approval, and come back to the process. And then,
Excuse me, is it there or is it somewhere else that we talk about? That the secretary keeps track of attendance, did we not?
And she does.
Oh, you do. Oh, you're the
the
secretary.
designee,
Oh, here we go again.
the designee,
Okay.
okay?
I don't call you a designee.
Well, we'll work on that wording. We
It
understand.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
And we'll pick it up later.
It doesn't.
So the last one we want to talk about is BDDB-1, and this just talks about our agenda and when we post things and when things are due for you all to read them. And we just want to make sure that what we're doing matches what it says. Not that anything's wrong, but we want to make sure the practice meets the policy. So technically, right now, we post we post basically through the school year, so August or basically September to May, while school is going on, we'll post that, we'll post the agenda for you all and activate it on that Friday before, that's what it talks about, that's what the language talks about right now. And then obviously, we have to have item agenda items in there, and then we will fill our stuff in there. There's a couple things we want to talk about. So that's the first thing. Now, summer-wise, practice-wise, this is probably something we need to add in here, is when it comes to the summertime, and we have summer schedules, and it's just a different time, our practice has been, we don't post the agenda or activate the agenda until that Monday of the board of that week. We don't have that in there. So we probably need to add some language that says that in the summer months we do this.
I'll go with the flow, but I have a job, and I work my butt off Monday through Friday at this job. Excuse me, I know we're on tape. But, you know, and I, in the past, I used the weekends to really study this and so on like that. So I will go with the flow, but I think it's an inconvenience for the people that have jobs.
Well, I'm having trouble going through all the information when it sometimes doesn't get posted until the day before or the morning of the meeting. So we need to stop doing that.
So that's the other piece. So
Yeah.
I was going to get to
Okay,
that. So
all right,
thank you.
okay.
So that's the next piece. So the first piece is, and we can, this is discussion, so we can have that discussion.
Right.
I'm just simply saying what practice is right now, and it doesn't match what we say. And so the practice has been, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but that we typically, because of the summer schedules and things, we do them for the summer months, we do Monday or Friday. Now, if you all say you want it Friday, we'll do it Friday. So that conversation have, but that's the first part of this. The second piece then is the practice of, when we activate the agenda, and we have to have our item agendas in there, so we can't just add items. In terms of the actual 8.0, not just the material, but the 8.0 point, like the actual item title. Now, what I think Ellen is saying is, there's times where information or the actual reports and things that come in, sometimes those are late. And so, two things on that, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but two things that I want to clarify. One is, and it could be right or wrong, but it's just kind of how I thought about it a little bit too, is some of these things that need to be approved, that you're approving, need to be in there as soon as you can see them, because again, you're on the weekends, you want to see them and that. There are some times where we know there's something we want to discuss with you, it's not an approval to discuss, that we want to put it as an item, but we might not necessarily get that, what we want to talk about until, and not that we're trying to hide that from you, but we still work on that a little bit. But in terms of that, we have had that conversation as a team as well, and I told them that we've had that conversation, just kind of where we're at. So there's two things there. One, do we want to continue with the practice that we do in the summer? If we do, we need to add that. If not, regardless, we need to make sure that when we have the agenda items, we're getting them as soon as we can.
Well, and there's some exceptions, items to list as surplus property. Well, or bills that come up and need approval, that doesn't need to be posted on Friday.
And even sometimes like HR, like when you're talking about some hires,
Right,
sometimes we
yeah.
have to slide them in there
Yeah,
too. You're talking more of the approval, and again,
new business and-
the actual approval things that you're approving, you want to see those sooner than later, and I understand that. And that's a good point. But as we were talking about this though, we do have that practice that in the summer, we do change that to Monday. And if that's not something you want to do, that's fine, we can stay with the policy. But if we're doing the practice, we need to change the language.
There's the only thing about putting agenda items on there and sending out even earlier is sometimes, like especially in the summer, I might not get a student contract. If we put the board agenda on there earlier and then a student contract comes in on Monday, and we have to wait another whole month to actually be able to put that back on the agenda. So like earlier.
Time sensitive.
Sometimes it is, yeah. And so like I have a contract like to outsource some services that I didn't get a chance to get to now. So now I have to wait till next board meeting because, it only kind of came up the last 3 days. So that's the only bad thing I would say about going too early on some of the agenda items is if you can't add an agenda item or like a bidding contract, if there's no bidding contract title, then you get one, you can't go in and add it until the next time.
Well, I think the titles all have to stay in our agenda, so as Jason said, the spot is there for them. Maybe there's no attachment yet.
But if there's no title to start with.
We haven't put,
But our titles, and I know what you're saying, Julie. I think for me, as I've been looking, go ahead, you want to add?
Do we?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my understanding.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
And typically, we don't do those. And this conversation is not necessarily that we have to do our item agendas earlier, or that we're not doing them, or the actual titles. The titles are all there. The question is when does the material, the reports, and the meat of it get in there? I know, but what I'm saying though is we put those in there, there is a deadline for that. So we do, you can, but right now, that's not what they're concerned about because we're already doing that. We're policing ourselves and making sure that we have a title in there. But sometimes, we're not moving it up. The only thing,
From Monday to Thursday.
no, hold on. We do, during the school year, we do the Friday before Thursday, before the Thursday meeting. We do that already. That's what the policy says. June, July, and August has been the practice that we move that back to Monday. And I think that's a concern of Marita's. So we're not moving it further on up past Friday, earlier than Friday. We already do Friday, yeah. Do we still want to do Monday for those 3 months? Or do we move it back to Friday? But we're already Friday, we already have the titles in there, we already do it. And to Daniel's point, we're not typically adding items after that Friday or that Monday. We can if we need to, but we don't. But we do that because we get them in there, but what they're saying is the meat and potatoes, the reports sometimes aren't in there until 1 or 2 days.
even today, there were three more things that came in.
And some of that, I think you've already said, Ellen, some of that is going to happen. But we don't want all to happen, and especially my thought is if we're asking you to approve something, that needs to get in like that Friday or that Monday, we need to have that in there. To me, sometimes when it's just a discussion to present, sometimes we just have it in there so you know that we're going to bring that information to you just for discussion. But especially approval, we need to have that in there. So that's something we've been talking about too.
And I don't know if there's a way to, in the summertime, when, like, for personnel with Rodney, or like contracts and things that are time sensitive. You couldn't wait another month to approve a new teacher contract, or I don't mean a new teacher, but a contract or a outsource. Yeah. But- Yeah.
But the title's already there. You're just, and there are some things like contractors in the movie usually have the title in there. I think what Danielle's saying is we do, it's got to be 424, right? So we could add another title if we wanted to before 24, but we try not to do that. We typically don't do that. We're just adding some material sometimes.
But I think our concern isn't so much, well, yes, adding titles, but you can't do that after, within 24 hours. But I'm saying, given all the items on the agenda that have vacancies to be filled, places that you can add attachments, or even with HR, or personnel, or anything, those things coming in, every time I open my phone or my computer, and I'll say, oh, here's another board adjustment. So, and in the summer, we see a lot of that, more so than we do.
Well, and there's times for that. Like, you're going to see a lot of HR, those, because it's heavy in the summertime. I think the general thought is, are we making sure the information is getting to you guys in a timely manner? I think that's what your point was. But back to Marita's point, do we want to change it to where even the summertime we're doing it the Friday and not the Monday?
And I would suggest that in summer, we're not doing it on Friday, we're doing it on Thursday. Correct, because we're closed on Fridays, if we say we're gonna stick to Friday, then that means Kelly has to work on Friday.
Well, that's a good question. It could be, so we are going to move it up.
But if we move it up and something comes up that wasn't there, we can just explain it to the board and then add it in.
And that's why I say summer schedules, and I'm not saying that we're not working, because we work just as hard, but we do have some scheduling issues, and that's why we did Monday.
I just want to clarify, I don't care which way you go, frankly, because I can make it work. But you have to take in consideration this is a policy, and a policy is supposed to be here for a while. So what if we get a board of a bunch of people that work? You're not during the day. That's why I'm saying we need to take in consideration.
That's why I'm bringing that up. I'm saying it's a valid point, and I'm okay keeping it the same, but we would have to probably say Thursdays this summer.
Well, why can't we just say Thursdays? Okay. So I'm still in this policy BDD where the first part talked about that the agenda and the information would get out in a timely manner by Friday, or by Thursday evening. Yeah. I had a question on that third paragraph, where it says patrons desiring to be included on the agenda for the purpose of addressing the board have to make that request 5 days prior, and the request has to be submitted in writing to the superintendent. How can we, do we need to clean that up a little? But that's not the same as this.
I think it's okay.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So for this discussion, just to kind of keep this going, so this discussion, it sounds to me like we're going to leave this policy the way it is. And just make sure our practice, make sure it's meeting what we're doing. But you guys, I think, are understanding, too, if we're adding something, we're doing it because it's a timely issue. We're not trying to keep our money, and we're doing the best we can. Well, and again, I said this, and Lord knows you guys know I like to repeat myself, but I do think, I'm not saying withhold anything from you all. I do, for me personally, I think there's a difference between, if I'm bringing something to you to approve, you need to see that as soon as you can. If I'm just saying I want to discuss it, I'm saying I'm going to leave it till Wednesday night to put it in there, but you're not, you're just listening to it, we're just having a good discussion. To me, that's two different things as well, so, okay. That was a good discussion, though.
Okay, but and that was discussion, so moving along, 8.03, construction project proposals. So I think we're going to move to Charles. Any discussion on that part, Charles? Questions? Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed? All right, that passes. Item 8.04, the resolution of the board for the Lewis and Clark sale of the house. Charles? Amazing.
Pretty exciting.
So how many houses are in that total? Is it 19? 20.
So just quick congratulations and kudos to all the students. Obviously, this house has been 2 years in the making. The staff over Lewis and Clark, the teachers, the students, I mean, they did an amazing job. That's quite a price, so it's exciting.
It's an amazing job anytime, but given all of the restrictions and all of the different hoops with the pandemic, it's even more amazing. Do I have a motion to approve this? Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That passes. Okay, our district financial report. So is this the new look? This is the new look? Mhm. I just. Oh, okay. Is this a correction just for this year? Going forward, we'll always have to. Once. So what does our operate, so when someone says, well, what's our tax rate? And they say one person can't make a difference. They sure can't. That 10 cents that you said for our district, is that some calculation that the state auditor or whoever it is, they came up with this formula? And it's different for every. And so some districts are going to be hit even more. And- of course. Okay, that's just what. That part of it. Okay. Is that going to be a test over this? And you say these kinds of things can't be appealed. I mean, it's a court decision. No. Oh. Yeah.
It was very disappointing to see that.
Yeah.
Construction projects that you only do really are generally proceeding as expected. We do have some material or equipment delays, but thankfully the projects are getting delayed. We're looking at 3,800 at our operations center. Will probably be after school starts, but we can work around that. There's a potential that the West Gymnasium will be after school starts, but we have to delay it. They still think they'll get done by early August before school starts. If they don't, they can still get it after school starts. The Lincoln Playground is delayed until September. We already have a playground, we just won't be located until the new one is here installed. The lighting, LED lighting projects, we knew would probably be delayed on equipment, even when we accepted it. So it looks like Charles High and school starts. If they're not, stripe lighting is very custom for section show. We know
Yeah.
Well, we were shown a certain color.
Right.
We're hoping that their color blue is correct.
Yeah. But still red. That's maroon.
Oh, we were all out there. It was nice.
I kind of like that. So our ending balance is 22.58. Even given the bad news about Blankenship versus. Yeah. So that money from Premier Park, or Premier, whatever that's called, is that the beginning of the money? Oh. The- Okay. But it, when those buildings that are in our area, they're on TIFs, right? And we get, and the, so what tax benefit do we get from those buildings? Oh. If they lived in our community. Okay. All right. University. Yeah. Okay. Anything else we want to discuss about the financial report? Do I have a motion to approve the district financial report? Do I have a second?
Second, Malone.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That passes. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Great. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Is anybody opposed? All right. We're adjourned.